But you have to remind yourself that the thinking that happens when you're in that place, you can't trust that judgment. It's not reasonable. It's not a real option. It's not. There's so much potential for your life that you're not seeing just because of you're being suffocated by the weight of whatever is going on in your life. The reality is that it's a fairly simple process to pull yourself out of that place. It's simple. It's not, I did not do anything special that nobody else can do. That's not the key to my success. Although I've been fortunate enough to do some amazing things since that happened. But it was decisions. Like, I want things to get better. I want my life to get better. And it wasn't for anybody else. It wasn't for my wife or my kids. It's just like, I want my life to get better. That's a decision that I made. And that's something that you can make. And then the second thing is, I had to learn how to show up for myself again, because I neglected myself over all those years. And I had to show up for myself. And I started very simple. I mean, there's a bunch of them in here, but this is like all the different journals. I decided, like, what is the one thing that I can do that I know I'm doing it for myself, that I have no excuses not to do? And it was journal. Like, it was just like, how do I keep myself accountable? Like, so for the longest, for probably first few weeks, all I would do is pick up my pen and the journal. I would just write today's date. There, I showed up for myself and nothing else. After a couple of weeks, I just like, I'm doing something for myself, and it made me feel better. And then I would just, whatever was on my mind, I would write in there, and I would just like pull it out of my head and put it on paper, and it made it a little bit better. My sleep became a little bit better because of that. And then a month goes by, and I just feel like I'm doing this. Like, this is happening. I'm doing this for myself. And then once that became a habit, my mind automatically was like, well, what's the next simplest thing I can do for myself? Like, how do I show up for myself? And, a couple of years prior, being outside, walking or running, that's something that helped me process things, helped to relieve stress. And it just, exercise makes you feel good about yourself. So I started out with walking. I would just go, and I'd go for a walk outside. Like, when I would feel tension at home, I would go, and that became part of my routine. And then that became part of who I am. And then, like, eventually led, like, last year I ran a 50-mile race just because, how good it made me feel to do that kind of stuff. And it wasn't like, if I started out, like, when I'm in that dark place, like, oh, I need to go run a 50-mile race. That's not where the answer is. The answer is picking up pen and paper and just showing up for myself. And actually, another thing that's very simple that most people can and should do is making my bed. It's like, there's a whole speech by Admiral McCraven, right? Make your bed. That kind of stuck with me, and I was like, well, I'm just going to make the bed. And it's the foundation for my recovery is built on the smallest, tiniest bricks, but they make the biggest difference in my life. And so that's what I would say to anyone who's in the place where I was at. You have to decide that you want things better, and then figure out what it is. How can you show up for yourself? That the simplest thing that you can do. Once you do it, then there's going to be the next thing, and then before you know it, that momentum has shifted. You don't need to go from where you are now in that dark place to everything is great. All you need is to feel momentum, like to feel progress. That feeling of progress is so intoxicating. That will sustain you. That will keep you going. And before you know it, you're going to be just like me.
And every single day builds upon itself. until,
Yes.
like you said, eventually it becomes a routine. When it comes to routine, then you're like, I got this. How do I get more uncomfortable to achieve that next step in that journey?
Absolutely. And it happens. The best thing about it is it happens naturally. Just like on the way down, every day gets just a little bit worse. And like you have bad habits and then you pick up another bad habit. Same thing happens on the way up. You just have to turn yourself around. And that decision is, it's here, it's in you. Nobody else can do it for you.